Let's check the assignment that you did. So number 1 says which translation just a second here. So which translation moves a triangle 6 units to the right and 3 units down? So on a question like this, if you're not sure what happens with the translation, just think about, choose a point. Like, what if you mark this point right here? And if you think about moving that point 6 units to the right, that means that point would go this direction 6 units. And as you go from this point right here to this point right here, what's happening to the coordinates of this point? If you go 6 to the right, didn't it move 6 to the right on the x-axis? So that means you have to add 6 to the x-coordinate. So if, say, x is 1, if you go 6 to the right, what's x going to be? It's going to be 7. So you're adding 6 to the x. So that means whatever x was to start with, it's going to be x plus 6. Well, look at the answer choices. You can already eliminate some answers. A has x plus 6, but what does B have? X minus 6, so that's wrong. That would be 6 to the left, wouldn't it? X plus 3, that means only 3 to the right, so that's wrong. And this one also says x plus 3, that would be only 3 to the right. So just by knowing that 6 to the right means x plus 6, you know A is right. Well, let's just check to see if it makes sense for the y. If you go 3 units down, now you're here, and then if you go down 3 units, what's happening to the y coordinate? Going down means your y coordinate is decreasing by 3 if you go from here down here, alright? And that's what y minus 3 means. So A makes sense. What would y plus 3 mean? That would be 3 units up, right? And what's y plus 6? That would be 6 units up. And y minus 6 would be 6 units down. On number 2, which property changes when a figure is reflected across a line? Well, think about any figure. Say you start with this triangle right here. And if you reflect it across the line or flip it, it's going to now look like this. So notice that it is sitting in a different position. Did the side lengths change? No. Whatever this side is here, if it's, say it's 5, this side would still be 5. Say this side is 3, well that side is still 3, and so on. So the side lengths didn't change. Did the angle measures change? No. If this is 90 degrees here, that's still 90 degrees here. Say that's 30 degrees there, that would still be 30 degrees there. So that didn't change. The perimeter means the distance around. Whatever this distance is around this one, it's still going to be the same for this one because the side lengths didn't change. Remember what orientation means? That means how it's sitting. This one, the small angle's pointed to the right. On this one, the small angle's pointed to the left. So the orientation is what changed when you reflected it. On 3, what's the result of this transformation below? So you started with xy, and what happened? You changed the sign of the x-coordinate. So look at a point and just think about what would happen. What if you started with point 4,2 and you changed the sign of the x-coordinate? Wouldn't that become negative 4,2? And where is negative 4,2? Negative 4,2 would be over here. So what happened to it? It reflected across the x-axis. Is that true? The x-axis is here. That means it would have had to have gone this way. So that's not true. Did it reflect across the y-axis? Here's the y-axis. It went from here to here. Yes, it did. So B is your answer. And then on 4, polygon is translated 7 units to the right and 2 units down. which translation returns it to its original location? So that means after you translated it, what would you have to do to take it back to where it started? So if you start here, and if you go 7 to the right, it would be here, and then 2 units down, it would be here. Now they're asking, what do you have to do to go back to the original position? So now you need to be thinking, what do you have to do to get from here back to here? So it's just working backwards. So now you would have to go up 2 units, and going up changes the y value. So wouldn't that be y plus 2? And now that you're here, to get back to here, you would have to go to the left 7 units. And if you go back to the left 7 units, what's that doing to the x-coordinate? Isn't that changing it by 7? Alright, so yeah, 7 to the right, 2 down. To get back to it, you've got to go backwards. So 2 up, 7 to the left. Which one of those matches that? X minus 7 is correct. Y plus 2 is correct. A is your answer. On 5, what's the slope of this line? Remember, slope-intercept form, the m value represents the slope, so 5 is the m value in this equation, so the slope is 5. So what's the y-intercept? In slope-intercept form, the b value is the y-intercept, so in this case, the plus 4 represents the y-intercept, so the y-intercept is 4. Jesse starts with $8 and saves $12 per week. What's the equation for that? Starts with, that sounds like your starting value. Isn't that your y-intercept? So the 8 is your b value. $12 per week, that's a unit rate. That's your slope. So that's your m value. So we need the 12 to be where the m is, and we need the 8 to be where the b is. So 12x means it either has to be A or B. These two have m values of 12. Starts with 8. That's positive, so it would be y equals 12x plus 8. On 21, you have a triangle. Remember in these diagrams that we talked about in school, 110 degrees is called an exterior angle. And remember, the exterior angle, remember, is equal to the sum of the 2 interior angles that are not adjacent to it. So these 2 angles right here, we know, have to add up to be 110. That's one way to think about it. What's the question asking? It says, what's the measure of BAC? BAC is this angle right here. So we're trying to find the measure of this angle here. So since we know that these 2 angles have to add up to be 110 degrees, we could create an equation and solve for x. And once we know what x is, we can then figure out what 3x is. So let's say then that 3x plus 20. So I'm going to say 3x plus 20. The sum of those 2 angles is equal to this exterior angle, 110. So now that you have your equation, combine the like terms. 3x plus 3x is 6x. So we have 6x plus 20 equals 110. Subtract 20 from both sides. And now we have 6x on this side. 110 minus 20 is 90. And then we can divide both sides by 6. And 90 divided by 6 is 90 divided by 6 is 15, right? Yeah. X is 15. Does that mean the angle is 15? Is A the answer? No. BAC is this angle here, which is 3x. So now that we know x is 15, then BAC would be equal to 3x, which would be 3 times 15, and 3 times 15 is 45. So we know that C is the answer. Now, there's another way to think about this, and let's just let's look at that. Instead of thinking about exterior angles, remember you could use another strategy. If this angle here is 110, what do you know about this angle right here? These two angles form a straight line, so we know that this angle plus this angle have to be 180. So 180 minus 110 equals 70. So we know that this angle right here has to be 70 degrees because 70 plus 110 is 180. Well, now think about what you know about the three angles in a triangle. The sum of three angles in a triangle has to be 180, yes? So if this part right here is 70, what do you know about these two angles here together? 70 plus 110 equals 180. So if this is 70, you know that these two angles here together have to be 110 degrees. And then you could go back and use your equation and say, all right, 3x plus 20 has to be equal to 110, and then solve through it, and you get your 45. On 22, what's the measure of ABC? Well, ABC is right here. Now just we can use what we did and answered in question 21. Remember, we solved and we got x equals 15 when we solved for x, so we can just use that information. Now that we know x equals 15, if we want to know ABC, which is this angle, we can use this expression right here. So if x is 15, that means 3 times 15 plus 20. I'm just substituting 15 where the x is. So that becomes 45 plus 20, which is 65, right? So C is the answer on that. So you knew this one was 45. You could have also said, all right, now that I know this is 45 and I know this is 70, you could have added these two together. 70 plus 45 is 115, and then you could have just said 180 minus 115, because these three angles have to add up to be 180 to make a triangle. And then on 23, we already answered this one. ACB is talking about this angle right here, and like we said before, we know these two angles have to be 180, so 180 minus 110 gives you 70 for angle ACB, so we know D is the answer. Alright, and that takes care of those. If you got any questions on these, let me know and I'll give you some more help on that.